And welcome back. So for today's show, I'm just so excited to have on our next guest. She is phenomenally talented and driven. I have so much respect for her. She is an actress and content creator from Sugar Land, Texas, currently living in the Los Angeles area. And her name is Brie Eley. You can find her at brieeley.com, and also be sure to check out a super awesome website, but I'm going to leave you hanging for now so we can talk about that a little bit later. And please give a warm welcome to Brie Eley.
Hello. Hello out
Hello.
there, listener and watcher land.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast, because I know you've been
Absolutely.
so
Oh,
busy. You just had a couple of night shoots, right?
yes. Yes. And that's why I'm drinking wine. So we're gonna see where this interview goes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not only that it's been busy night shoots, it's just been like a busy month. And we're only in the 13th day.
Mhm.
But I have been so fortunate that the project that I just did was my third commercial this month,
Wow.
which is insane. For those of
Yeah.
you who don't know, commercials are like winning the actor lottery. You get thousands upon thousands of submissions to the casting directors. Then they narrow those down to actual appointment times. Then you maybe get a call back for those where you're in a session with the producer. They look you up and down. You turn around in a circle like you hope. You get put on a veil. And if you make it through that, then you would actually get the job. It's like you get whittled down into some crazy numbers in terms of categories. When you do that during a pandemic, now that number goes to like maybe just 400 on the Zoom because they're not going to see as many people. They don't have as much time to. Then you hope that in that callback, there'll be like, because you're zooming with the team, maybe the agencies in Atlanta, the directors in London, and the casting directors here in LA. So you're also making sure that your internet is right and that the timing is there, and that maybe there won't be a lag when you're supposed to land that joke with your funny ass dad or your brother or cousins in whatever commercial. Then you need to make sure that you don't have the Rona. So now you got to get tested and go to the fitting, and then you get tested again, and then you get tested again. To get to that place where you actually are on the set and working is such a like little bit of a miracle. And for that to have happened 3 times this month, yo, all right, 2022, what you got? Like, I'm good. I'm Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing. It's a total whirlwind. I also have Here and Ready stuff, so that's been like progressing in its own fantastic way. But just to see this kind of shape happening for my own acting life, which is what I came here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
it's worth wine in the
I know, and
afternoon.
I gotta know what are you drinking? What are you
This
drinking?
actually
I see
is a
it's a
Mezza
white.
Corona Pinot Grigio.
Ooh, okay.
I was
Okay.
feeling a little light today.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me thinking about wine. I actually went to Italy with my family back in the traveling days,
Yeah.
and we did a wine tasting in Tuscany. Oh,
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 so
beautiful.
lovely.
Now I always swirl the wine beforehand, and I
Uh-huh.
whether it's $5 or 50.
That's
Ah,
right. Enjoy the experience.
right,
Enjoy the
right. Yeah.
experience. Yeah, like I worked in restaurant industry for years and years, but one of my favorite things about it was like learning about wine, selling wine. It's just like the whole experience, the sensory
Yes.
experience of it, and getting to connect with people about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Hmm.
yeah, it's just so
It's
fun.
good stuff. And
Yeah.
then one trip, we did a trip to Paris. My mom had never been. My sister would do these trips when she was in high school, where it was like educational tours. They'd go for a week with like spring breakers, but
Yeah.
like the ones who actually like wanted to learn about culture.
Uh-huh.
So she went to Paris with that trip. I had to travel through Paris for work one time, so I just like stopped and like bumped around for a couple of days. But my mom had never went. So when we decided to go, we said, you know what? Since we have seen this, we'll definitely have like some city of Paris time.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd also love to like maybe do like a day trip somewhere
Mm.
so we can like get a little bit of the outside France experience. So we did a trip up to Versailles for the day to see the palace, which is, I don't understand. You know how they got it? Slavery. That's how I was like, how did they get that much money? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
Mm.
Slavery. But
Mm-hmm.
it is an incredible space. So if you get a
Right.
chance to go to the Palace, I recommend it. But we also did a trip to Rems, which is where they have all the champagne cellars.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to a couple of the different houses. Tattinger is there, Mums is there, Luc Clouseau. There's a cathedral there that's a part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, for my sister. I was like, I'm here for the champagne. What are you here? But yeah, I think there's something really beautiful about legacy and like seeing people continue something.
Mm-hmm.
Winemaking has been a part of us from like the Greeks stomping on, grapes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those continuances.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so thank you for sharing that story also because you got me excited for like the
I total
future and
tangent,
the future
total
when it can.
tangent.
Yeah, it's a tangent, but we're gonna connect it because it's a question
Okay.
I didn't even think to ask you about how you got into acting and your process and all of that. So
Oh,
I would love to hear about how travel has influenced your process, right? And then
well.
also how, you know, thinking like that you have the mind to think about history and appreciate legacy, how that
Mm,
also affects your process.
for sure, for sure. I'm a theater nerd at heart, like 100%.
Mhm.
I grew up in an area just outside of Houston, Sugarland, as she said, which has a fantastic arts community. You might be surprised, you're like, oh, Texas, barbecue beer. But actually, within Houston, there's the Houston Ballet, the Museum of Fine Arts, and the Menil Collection, the Alley Theater, Theater
Mhm.
Under the Stars, and just a really beautiful, active, like cultured scene. And
Mhm.
so I went to a magnet school. I would do dance classes after school. The teachers were like, she talks a lot. Maybe you want to put her in acting. Started doing like Saturday workshops at this place. And they were like, she seems good. She's got a lot of energy, maybe musical theater. Started doing a musical theater school. And then they helped me find out about this performing arts high school,
Mm.
the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts in Houston, aka the longest bumper sticker in the world. Um, and from there, that's when I really solidified how I could take this joy that I had found of being like, I'm going to get up on a Saturday morning to go have my parents drive me to this class because I really want to do it. And I love what's happening in this excitement and the way they all applaud, to an actual appreciation of the history of theater, the craft that has to come around it, the way that words get laid out into themes and that you're a part of making them happen. My education at PVA was also like vocal training and movement.
Mhm.
It was a real ass conservatory deal.
Yeah.
I did, I by sophomore year, maybe even earlier, I was like, oh, I'm going to New York. Like that's my jam.
Mhm.
LA, nah.
Mhm.
But like this is where I want to be. So my school did my dad and I actually first did a trip to go see shows, and I had some cousins in New Jersey. So we met up with them and we saw Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk. My oh my gosh, it was such a good show. Such a good show. Savion Glover, if y'all get it, just YouTube it. It's amazing. It's like this gorgeous like tapestry of Black history, but also tap. Gregory Hines, was in the building. Um, my school did a trip to New York for like a week. And then I came back and I told my parents, I was like, listen, before I go to New York for college, I'd like to go there for a summer program. I want to understand like what the experience is like actually living there.
Mhm.
So I did some research. Here are these places. I would have to stay in a dorm in Brooklyn. But I'd really like to do this for my summer. Can I? And my mom was like, 16, what? You
You're
know,
like, yeah, right.
what do you?
16.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And by the time I left for that, I was 17. The dorms that I was in, the residency, they needed you to be 18 to stay there. So my mom got me a fake ID
Okay.
and she took me to the airport. I met up with her friend Dot, she used to go to college with, who was a singer in New York. She brought me to the dorms and she's like, we're gonna check in with each other once a week, but otherwise have a fantastic summer. And I was like, by the end of that summer, I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely do this. And I think what has been, so that need to like go see where it's at,
Yep.
that bit of travel for theater has been a part of it. I did the British American Drama Academy's Midsummer and Oxford program at Oxford University. And that was my first time actually going overseas, being able to walk into these kind of like Harry Potter storied halls
Yeah.
to see like, but also be studying Shakespeare there, be
Yeah.
studying these words and characters and the truest forms of like love and revenge and passion and hurt, like in that space, while walking along the cobblestone streets and seeing the guys like polish the brass outside of the churches. Like that, to know that like that's what old is.
Mhm.
We're in young country. I don't know what
Yeah.
that means. Like we don't really know what that hundreds and hundreds and thousands means. We don't and to have a preservation of that. So much of it is like tear it down, move on. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily like hold on to the spaces that were older here. So there's that travel element.
Yeah.
And then when I got back, I spent a lot of time in New York working with Kings County Shakespeare Company, Classical Theater of Harlem, but I really didn't know what was happening in contemporary theater. And I heard about this program in Louisville. The Actors Theatre of Louisville has an apprentice program for 9 months where you will go, you'll be a part of their whole residency for the summer and their new play festival for contemporary work. And they do like 7 main stage productions in rotation,
Mhm.
as well as a 10-minute play festival. And the apprentices have their own mini season of work that they create. So then I went to Louisville for 9 months. I mean, like this idea that like you can go wherever you want to go with theater. You can, this is the true like gypsy lifestyle that you know, you get the suitcase and you travel here. It's like the vaudevillians. I think the legacy of theater is all about like going to where people need to have a story told.
Mhm.
Um, and then that director from Louisville brought me to a show at the Kennedy Center. And that's how I got my equity card and
Oh
like
wow.
being able. So my cousins, bless them, in Detroit, they were told about the Kennedy Center. There was this article in the paper. It was a world premiere. They're like, cool, cool, cool. I do like one scene on Criminal Minds. What? My cousin? That's my cousin. You know, the just the level of like, I think about the Kennedy Center as like this home of arts in America.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, cool. Oh, you doing a show? That's good. That's good. You know,
Right.
but then, you know, you see, so that's something also too about like when you travel, you also travel through televisions. You also travel through like little bits of waves in the sky, like in
Right.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when he's like traveling across as a, you know, breaking up in pieces.
Yeah.
You truly are traveling to people all over the world as an actor on screen. And that is pretty cool. Are we? Am I kind of curse? I was gonna say, you know, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I know, but it truly is. It's like being able to see what history means in different places is really important.
Mhm.
There's a sense also that like you were never the beginning and you were never the end. There's always going to be something else flowing through.
Mhm.
I've had some really amazing moments on stage where I felt like I wasn't even there. I was like
Yeah.
channeling through
Yep.
something, you
Mhm.
know?
I think of do you see the Pixar? Yeah, Pixar, right? Soul?
Oh, Soul. I don't have Disney Plus yet.
Oh.
There's only so
Oh,
much to watch,
dang
but I
it.
am gonna
Okay.
get
Well,
it because
I
I
don't
need to
want to
WandaVision and I need
yeah.
Mandalorian season 2.
I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I will say that there was a moment in it and I was just like, yeah, that's what it feels like. I know, what a cliffhanger. So, yeah.
See, but my thought was is that like after I got through these things, I was like, okay, now Disney Plus,
Mhm.
and I'll be able to like get because there's also like stuff you got to keep up on, like Mandalorian 2 and WandaVision is breaking the internet, so I need to
Yeah.
see what that's about.
Yeah.
But broadcast TV is back. I just want to watch Grey's Anatomy. It's too
Yes.
much to watch, girl.
I'm a girl. Yes, I love Grey's Anatomy so much and
Too much to watch.
so yeah. Yeah,
P.S. My aunt will still call me when she sees that sees the Criminal Minds.
yeah.
She'll like, I saw it on Ion.
Yep.
I'm like, thank you, Aunt Helen.
That's so sweet.
Come on, Ion. Give me them residuals.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I also just want to I just feel like drawing some attention to for the listeners about, we heard Brie say at the beginning that she's done 3 commercials already this month and how that's kind of like the actor lottery. And I think it's something, it's amazing to have that like level of gratitude for it and not feeling like you're owed it, because I would say like starting out, like before I had been doing acting for years and years and years, like I would just imagine, I get trained from here and here and here and I have all this experience, therefore
Mm,
that means by this time I will have
mm,
blah 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 blah. And
no.
exactly, it really is a field where that's just not how it is. um
It's non-linear.
it's
Any
nonlinear.
other career that you might be in, you might have like A plus B plus C plus D.
Hmm.
Like there's this track. Like if I do this thing, if I go to medical school, if I do my residency, if I do my thing, doctor.
Right.
Actor is like you do this thing, now you're here, then you get a hold of that, then you go back to doing that, then you're over here, and you do. It's like
Right.
those scribbles that like
Made me
kids
think of
do.
Chutes and Ladders.
Oh gosh, yes. That is, and even when you're feeling hot,
Yeah.
that could cool.
Right.
That could cool. And you just have to really celebrate every win, every moment you get to be there. Don't be a diva. Don't throw your clothes on the floor. Step into the place knowing that you're around people who are also paid and excited to be there too.
Hmm.
If you get, I I did get coffee on set last night because it was so cold. It was like 40 degrees in LA. And I was like, oh, I would love if you had like maybe like 3 of those creamers and like 2 sugars.
Yeah.
She's like, great. Can we get Brie coffee? Whoever the PA was got fancy, decided to do their own thing. I get it. It was like, thank you. Thank you for this. Let me just give that back to you. I was like, maybe just give me one and like bring me this stuff and I'll put it
Right.
in. Is that
Yeah.
okay? But I don't think they could because it was like they had to touch it.
Ah.
So when they brought me like the re-up, I just drank it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. What am I going to do? This guy doesn't listen to coffee. Maybe some people make coffee and they're like, oh, I get it. You have to have exactly 3 sugars and exactly 1 French vanilla.
Right.
But if you're just like making coffee, you're like, oh, yeah, a little dash of salt. Sure, why not? I don't know.
Hey, salted caramel, right? Yeah, but if it's not your thing and you're excited
Right.
and
So
you want
that
to be
that
on
next
and
time.
all that,
But
right?
but this idea that like you're owed something in this
Hmm.
business, no
Right.
ma'am.
Exactly. So do you ever have, because I mean, you have, to me, you have like amazing perseverance, right? You're doing something that you love that brings you joy and you're giving joy to other people. Um, have you ever had moments of, I know a lot of actors get that slump, or like sometimes wonder, like they love it, but sometimes get to that point where they're like, oh, is it time to like
I'm in
quit, or
love
like,
with acting, but does acting love me?
Mm.
That's the name of the autobiography.
Oh, that's it.
No.
Oh,
No, it's not a real book, but it could be. And I'm
right.
sure there are people who have felt that way. I have. I've had some calls to the mom where I'm like, I don't know what I'm like, what? And my mom always says, your time is coming. Your time is coming. And she doesn't know how this business works. She just figured out like what a residual is, but there's this sense that she just wanted to keep pushing me because she knows how much I love it and how much I enjoy it. And I think that along the way, it's okay for how you're involved in this business to shift.
Hmm.
So if you maybe start off just doing musical theater and that's not feeding you as much, why not try doing improv?
Hmm.
Why not try doing sketch? Why not try making a short film with your friends? I think my longevity in this business has been able to happen because I kept trying different ways.
Hmm.
I did a show off Broadway that was all performance art. I produced a film with friends after crowdfunding it. I did background on this crazy Charlie Kaufman project for like 2.5 months. I have, continued to be a part of new play development here in LA, doing readings, getting a chance to just keep working. And every now and then when the stars align, I even do a full play and remember what it is to memorize lines. Like there's nothing saying that the one way you do it has to be the way that you only do it the rest of your time.
Right.
And there's so many ways to tell a story. Maybe it's just even like a visual project. And maybe by shifting the way that you are involved, it might help reignite something. It could put some ease on it. There are plenty of amazing artistic directors and producers who used to be actors.
Yeah.
Writers who, from understanding the world of acting, are making stronger character choices in their work. Like it's, yeah. But slumps, slumps will 100% happen.
Right.
The idea is, can you pick yourself up? Can you financially afford to pick yourself up?
Right.
And there's no wrong answer for how you choose it. I do think that our business is built on showing up and just being there. An opportunity isn't really an opportunity if you're not prepared for it. So you just have to keep being prepared for it. But I even just thinking about it, it makes me like pretty emotional that you are putting so much into this thing. And yes, it's a business, but for me at the core of it, it really was about this thing that I love doing, and being able to do it is truly like amazing.
Aw.
I know. It's
Yeah.
5:30 in the morning. What did you do with the wine? Oh
Exactly.
my
You can blame it on the Pinot Noir. And
No,
no,
it's
it's okay. You never have to blame your emotions on anything other than that they're real. And
yes.
Yeah.
Don't discount the importance of having a supportive community.
Yeah.
Like it does take a village, and there's too much in between time. There's too much hard time to not have someone in your corner, whether it's the family you came with or the family that you choose. But like really look out for those people, because when the good things happen, you want them to your left and right. And when the bad things go down, you need them there too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a tissue.
Yeah.
Give me one sec.
It's just so beautiful. So as she gets her tissue, I was just grateful that, we're able to have her obviously here on the podcast and just be reminded that, those highs and lows, they're part of the process, and that what's most important is to be, that constant reminder. The most important thing is to be true to ourselves. And if you know in your heart that there's something that you're on this earth to do,
Right.
you do it, and you can get creative about the way that you do it. And you can take a break when you need to take a
Yes,
break,
yes.
and you
It'll
can
still be
continually get
there.
better.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
it'll
And
still be
yeah.
there. I think, Polonius said, to thine own self be true.
See, girl. Okay, Brie. I cannot even. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know how much stuff we had in common. Like, it just
Ah,
like in terms of the whole like theater nerd, like loving Shakespeare, being brown
yes.
girls, and like having that same like love of Shakespeare and all that stuff, and then just like
There's a girl.
moving to doing the LA thing and all. Even though our journeys have been different, there's certain
I
things that are
know.
like,
I
and loving
spent
Grey's
some.
Anatomy. I'm just saying,
Yes.
like, so some of those things.
My
It's just
character actually got
yeah.
to recur on Grey's Anatomy, so
See.
I'm still enjoying that. Thank you,
Very
Sweden,
exciting.
for the residuals. Just still watching season
Sweden.
8.
That's
Appreciate
awesome.
you.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
but yeah, there's actually a girl in here in Ready
Yeah.
who does a thing called Black Girls Do Theater. Oh no, classical theater. I'm botching it. I hope that I'll find it at some point. But
Yeah.
the whole idea is that trying to get more women of color involved in classical theater. And I have to say, from doing that program at Oxford, it was amazing to see these people from BBC, from National Theater, Royal Theater, to come in and hang out with some 20-somethings for the summer. They were very, very much of the idea that the work is the work is the work, whether you're on voiceover, whether you're doing a BBC miniseries, whether you're on television or the West End, show up. And there's no problem with having a career that spreads in that way. Like a stock market, you want to have diversity in your fund. You don't want to just all be in tech, or
Mhm.
all be in, you know, consumer goods. But at the time, this was like maybe 2002, 3, on our side, there was still a lot of hierarchy around like, well, I'm only a TV actor. I only do movies. And that's
Mhm.
a commercial actor. And now Samuel L. Jackson is doing Capital One. You
Right.
know, you've got people flowing up and down this kind of like income possibility range maker
Mhm.
because it's a whole different world.
Yep.
We've had a financial crash since then. We've had a pandemic since then. I think it's really shifted people's idea of like, what does the work mean?
Yes.
What is a movie considered?
Mhm.
Is it because it's a certain length of time, or because it's I saw it at an actual theater?
Mhm.
And why would I take a movie and maybe like poo-poo it, but I'll take 5 hours of a show and I'll watch them all in a row. So I'll have a 5-hour movie, or did I just stream the whole series?
Right.
But yeah, we definitely have figured out, at least on this side of the pond, that the work is the work.
Right.
And what I especially loved about doing classical theater at the moment was that it didn't have the same lack of complexity
Mhm.
that I thought was happening for TV and theater.
Mhm.
Probably contemporary theater even more, because they are trying to, like, that's where new plays are happening, that's where new voices are coming, and they're usually at the forefront of changing perspectives. But some of those like plain old, this is what we always do in the regional theater summer stock, it's offensive now.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that play anymore.
Yeah.
Don't do that musical anymore. I don't care how much you love it. Don't do it.
Mhm.
Don't wonder why Broadway is graying when you're doing all this old shit. That's all. Where I got started. But yeah. I lost my own thought. But it was just like this, yeah, you have to try new things. And Shakespeare means that you can play the queen.
Mhm.
You can play the fairy the next time. You can be the monster on the edge of the cliff in the Tempest. You
Right.
know, there was no um preconditioned notion of like what kind of role would be right for you in class in those types of plays. In the same way that there was probably still for some people, a preconceived notion that I would only be the maid, that I would only be the
Yeah.
nurse, that I would only be the caretaker in a story, you know?
And it's interesting what you were saying about no preconceived notions about that in classical plays, because yeah, for me, I didn't feel it. I felt the same way of I can do anything in it. Because guess what? They didn't have women in it anyway. So you have a woman
Yeah.
in it, let me play any role. Cool. But even still, like just because I felt that way didn't mean others felt that way. You
Yeah.
know, like and so yeah, that's a whole other thing we
And
could
yeah,
like
yeah. But
delve
I
into.
really liked that about being able to do these awesome stories where like, and also what that means is as an actor,
Mhm.
you're getting the chance to stretch and work your craft in a way that you're not gonna get to.
Mhm.
The other person gets to do the love interest, the rom-com, blah, blah, blah. You get to go there as a person of color and you're like, do you want fries with that?
Yeah.
And that's your day. And you're like, well, where are the other Meryl Streeps? Why aren't there more Meryl Streeps? And it's like, because we're not getting the chance to even get challenged to do the role. We're
Yeah.
not getting the chance to play Gypsy. Has there been a black Gypsy? Has there been a black Mama Rose? I'm sure there's 1,000 actresses who could crush it.
Right.
But are they getting that chance to step into that level of complexity?
Right. Well, so this
Yeah.
is this is going to be a perfect moment to talk about you starting the Here and Ready database, right?
Yes.
And listeners, please go and check it out as well. Show your support and help to change things along with us.
Right.
So yes, tell us about that, will you, Brie?
Okay, quick version is Here and Ready is a talent database for Black actresses where anyone in the industry, from theater to television and film, commercials, can quickly and easily discover and hire Black talent. So whether you're looking across location, representation, union status, or even notable skills and identities, you can go on the site, click, and you're able to watch their reel, you're able to view their resume, see where they're located, and even contact them. There's even an option to submit a casting breakdown. And it has been a labor of love. I call it my pandemic baby, because the group started just as a private group in 2019, but as isolations happened, there was a need to connect. As the uprising around George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, just yesterday was her 1-year anniversary, Ahmaud Arbery, there was a call to recognize this need for change. And I said, oh, if you want to pick up the phone, call us. And don't say that you can't hire and find Black actresses. Let me put you all in one spot. Let me organize it in a hopefully clear and, visually pleasing way. And that's where Here and Ready came from. So now the group is both the private community experience and the public database. We also host events that are, I call them Wednesday Wisdoms, but it's really just about fostering mentorship, whether it's from someone who's at a certain level or even from people that are to your, I love this idea of the lateral mentorship.
Yeah.
That you can still gain some skills from people, even if they're working on the same level as you, or even, and those events are really focused on bridging the gap between your professional training and what it takes to be a professional actor. And we do those on Eventbrite. So they're open to anyone, whether you're a member of Here and Ready or not.
So awesome. It's incredible. I mean, and it looks amazing. Like because I wasn't part of the group in 2019. I think, yeah, I got involved, or got to be, join the group after the pandemic, but also getting to see like the level of growth that has happened in just a few short months. It's
bananas.
It's incredible.
I was like tickled that it went, I was like, 200 members, whoop, pew, pew,
Yeah.
Someone's different people from other cities. Yeah. Now I go on the site and I'm like, wait, is that really? I think it's over 920 women on the Facebook group, all sisters, all over the country and Canada.
Yep.
And the database is so efficiently run. Like, it's pretty amazing. We started running through a Patreon system so that now, depending on the level of membership for the month, the person can have multiple headshots up. They can change their profile and photos and reel whenever they like, compared to some sites that will charge you for an upload each time, or some ridiculous photo fees.
Yep.
And the best part, I've actually had casting directors reach out and submit their stuff. I've had a relationship develop with the Equity and Entertainment Committee at the Casting Society of America. Here and Ready is now listed on their resources page. So when a member of their team who do cast across television, film, and commercials comes online and goes to that portal, they see us listed as one of the options. We submitted to IMDb Pro to be listed on their list of options for diversity and entertainment resources. Like, that's the kind of cosign where it's like, if you're at least in the room,
right,
maybe you're going to get someone closer to a job.
Yeah.
And we have had some jobs come through. I'll toot my own horn.
Yeah,
Facebook, you see my horn, texting coming through. It's the wine, y'all. Facebook is going to be promoting Here and Ready on their Lift Black Voices channel.
Yes.
So they reached out because they saw like the growth of the group and that it was really active. They wanted to cast a project for Women's History Month, a series called Disruptors Through Herstory. So they wanted to get 3 actresses from the group to show like, this is what this group is about. The producer was like, oh, I've gotten one, but I really need to see some more of this or that. Cause I was like, oh, I got you. I posted again. I pushed the thing. I was like, I know that so-and-so could probably rock this. She got an additional 30 different, I think over 30 submissions that next day. And then when she called me up later and was like, I'm thinking about doing this or this. And I was like, well, I would say if you see from the website, because there's this database, you'll notice that so-and-so has these skills. that one does say theater. And I think that because you're trying to do something about like more of this project or this style, that might be more beneficial to you to have that already like built in. But Love and Light, do what you want to do.
Right.
Came back and she was so excited about the ladies that she worked with. And she's like, I told them about you. They were so, I was so grateful that you helped me. The women's thing is awesome and it's locked, but we want to talk to you and focus on the group because it's pretty awesome. I was like, so that like, I think people are getting it. It's a
Yeah.
good time to be pro diversity, and it's an excellent time to be pro Black, and it's a fantastic time to be pro woman. So
Right.
let's just get all of that swirling.
That's right.
Swirl
Yeah.
it up.
It's just beautiful, and then of course I missed my tissue, but that's okay. It
Oh.
and I had this experience. I don't know if you experienced this or not when you're in LA. But like, for a lot of I grew up in Montana, mostly in Montana. Oh yeah,
Never
you
knew
didn't know
that.
that? Born in New York, grew up in
No.
Montana.
Big
Yeah.
sky country,
That's
right?
right. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But I've only been to East Texas so far because I got to do Texas Shakespeare Festival years and years ago. And I
Wait, wait,
just,
wait. The one at the
in
no,
Kilgore,
Texas Shakespeare.
Texas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was so when you were talking about like the artistic scene in Texas and this and that, I was like, yeah, I mean, it was such a little town, but like the festival was so amazing. And it's just like hearing all these gems of things that are
Oh,
happening there.
yeah.
I miss
I
that.
also think
Yeah.
people discount the other incredible skills that come from being a part of the arts.
Yeah.
These are this is logistical, like superstar land. This is also about what it means to be empathetic, to work with people who are from thousands of different backgrounds, to the true meaning of teamwork. You cannot make a play happen if you don't have the props right where you need them to be, if the costume lady isn't right there to do that quick change. Like, I think those skills, that appreciation of the arts is what makes better citizens.
Yes. I needed
Come on
something to
now.
like make noise right here or clap or just something.
What are those things
Yes,
that like
yes,
you
yes,
have like
yes,
a
yes.
buvula at the like a FIFA game? Or those like noise makers?
Right. Yes, exactly. I needed something for that. I guess a horn, but I didn't want to double
Right.
up on the horns right now. Uh
Right.
yeah, it just so that's what you're saying like mm, you know what? Let me first like get into this.
Sure.
Artivision. Did I say that right?
Artivision. Yeah,
Artivision.
yeah.
That
Artivision. But it's funny. When you wrote that, because full disclosure, I did get a little list beforehand, but I always thought of like artivism as like people who, like The Exonerated, which was a show off Broadway about people who had been exonerated from being falsely accused and falsely imprisoned. I was like, oh, that's artivism. They're actually like, this is a direct correlation to a presentation of a show. But then I thought about it and I was like, oh, Here and Ready is a bit of artivism. Like it's giving people access to art based on its connection to the fact that it was a part of a political and social and cultural like need. So in a way, and my personal activism has always been more on the environmental side. I was a part of the Students for Social Responsibility in school. I was the president of my student council. Like that was the vism that I was doing back then.
right.
And that kind of like fire has always been there. But I didn't necessarily connect it to actually creating a piece for it. But I do feel like just the doing of increasing visibility for Black actresses is my artivism.
Yeah. Like making a positive change and a positive difference,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
yeah, I do. I love the word. I love that you said it. I love that you're doing it, all of it. I mean, I really do. And I I also love, just exploring and talking about and seeing the ways in which we have like everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have a need to improve the world, and whether or not they sit on it or don't sit on it and how they
Yeah,
choose to do it, right? And so
yeah,
that
yeah.
that what you were talking about, like the all of the other things, the other skill sets that people get from being actors, right? That's why I was like, oh,
Time
I want to
management.
tie
Come
exactly
on.
time management. And one of my favorite ones too is being able to take constructive feedback while you're in a vulnerable state, while
Ugh.
staying emotionally open and not getting defensive and kind of
Mm,
taking it in and being able to reflect. And I wouldn't say like every actor is always successful
good
at
at
doing that,
that
because we're
all the
still
time.
exactly
No, but that
we're
is
still
something that
people.
happens.
But it's
Yeah,
it's something that happens. And it's not something that you necessarily get in other fields as part of the practice, as part of
absolutely.
the work. And I feel like that is just so
Thick-skinned.
important. Yeah, that's
Got to
right.
be thick-skinned in this biz.
Right. Still all soft and gooey on the inside still.
Hopefully,
Hopefully, exactly.
hopefully.
That takes some work. And so I started the podcast as well during the pandemic, and it was
You're a pandemic baby.
yeah, right. And also, that need of just, I personally was feeling just helpless watching the news, seeing how ugly people were to each other,
Ugh.
seeing like all of these things and feeling like, what can I do to help? And what I know, it's like the arts. I love the arts, and I know that there's things that it's done that's helped me make me a better human. And I thought, let's get
Yes.
more people together, talk about our stories, the lessons we learned, and hopefully it has that sort of trickle effect, So
You never know.
yeah, I
That's why
hope.
representation
Yeah,
matters too.
yeah,
Just being able to hear the experience, being able to see the experience might open up a possibility. It might just inspire some bit of goodwill in the world, like
right.
even that is a win.
Exactly. Just that feeling of like, sometimes people get nasty because they feel alone and they feel like, why am I going to be the only one out here caring when everybody else is like, everybody else is, I don't know,
But that
getting their foot.
analyzing of a character
Uh,
is like class 101 of like psychology.
right.
Being like, okay, I understand why he's so angry. It's because he feels like he's not being heard.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Let me see. What was the time that I felt like I wasn't heard? Awesome. Now let me walk into this next scene that this time with knowing that I want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
If people took that much time to think about how they were responding to shit instead of just reacting to it,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
go get you in an acting class. Right? Like that's
Right. It's useful for no matter what you're doing. Um, yeah.
those
Goodness.
rioters.
Oh,
I can't think about it. It's just like it
the
makes
the
me crazy.
the thing I was
Girl.
gonna say, I know, right? The thing I was gonna say about the whole reason why I brought up the grown up in Montana thing, I'm like, I knew there was a point,
Oh
and
yes,
then I forgot
yes,
with this lovely tangent.
yes.
But is uh, a lot of the times I didn't grow up with other brown women in the room, brown black women in the room. A lot of times it's like I was the only one,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes you get to do in professional theater too, or when I got to grad school, it's like, oh great, like I'm in a play, the other people look like me, how exciting, like it's so interesting to not be the only one in the room, like I can breathe a little bit more. You just don't notice how it feels.
Yeah.
I didn't notice the difference until I noticed the difference.
Mm.
And when I was in LA, just because of where I was living and my jobs and this and that, I was very rarely around other brown women. And then when I would go to an audition, I would see somebody and be like, oh, yeah, there you are. But then I'd also be like, crap, you're my competition. And it was just like it was this weird sort of thing of being like, yay, there you are. But now we're trying to get the same job. Awkward.
Mm.
And so I just wanted to comment that's another reason why I love the Here and Ready and the database and the Facebook group that you created so much, is because of the level of like built-in camaraderie, the level of community, the
Yeah.
level of like,
Yeah.
what, we're not competition, like we're
That
here.
community is so much stronger and greater than the competition
Yeah,
element.
yeah,
And I think it's also like if you think about it, if an actress gets the job, that means that they're also needing to hire her sister. They also need to maybe get her mom, or they might need to get the precision driver to match her in the commercial.
Hey, girl.
You don't know how you're expanding out opportunities for other people. And then in the same vein, it's like if it's yours, it's yours.
Yep.
So there's really no need to have to like put ill will out in the world against other people, other actresses that were there. Because obviously there's enough work. Every other day there's some new streaming service. And I'm like, there's plenty of jobs out there.
Yeah.
But I totally get that idea of like being able to look across and be like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
that's one of the hard things about not being able to have the actual waiting room anymore. Another actress and I was talking about how she loves Zoom auditions. And I was like, yes, I don't want to drive to Santa Monica at
Right.
3 p.m. on a Friday, but I feel like every time I walk into that space, it's like walking into the doors of a theater. Like you know there's a different energy in this room because it's been bubbling with creative energy all day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is worth walking into.
Yeah.
I don't want to I'll never like forget about how awesome it is to walk into that and to see people and get to hang out and catch up because you just happen to be passing like ships in the fog.
Yeah.
Oh, but also I don't have to drive to Santa Monica at 3.
Right.
So I don't know
Right. Yeah. I mean,
what we gonna do about that.
yeah. And then if you are somebody that, for people who have to have a day job in the meantime,
Right.
it helps because
To have
then
a
you don't
day
have
job, to have a kid, like
you it makes it
figuring
more
out that.
possible for you to still do what you need to do and still like throw your hat in the ring trying to get that, make that dream happen.
Right.
So, yeah. So I personally am very excited about things being more virtual, um,
Yeah.
especially as being
It's
outside
also
of the
can
city right
sometimes mean
now.
that they can, because they're not having to worry about pairing people up, they hit the button and people are paired up. You're not having to wait until the person that they wanted to pair you with, in
Hmm.
the case that actor is running late.
Yeah.
I've definitely been waiting there and they're like, we have enough moms, we don't have enough dads yet. So we got to wait
Yeah.
for the mom and dads to get there.
Hmm. I'm waiting for that.
So we'll see what the 2021 version in like what it's like in November when it
Oh,
comes to auditioning still.
right. I know. So many question marks still.
And for a theater, like there's plenty of theaters that are finding exceptional ways to pivot and to become like a virtual experience. Just excuse me, even sell like a whole season
Yeah.
of we're gonna do like a reading, or we're gonna have people come into our space and we're gonna tape it like a 3-camera show.
Hmm.
The story finds a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes me think of Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. I don't.
One of the things I did, oh my gosh, we've been in this for a whole last year. One of the things I did, I went on like, I did one day where I watched all the Mission Impossibles in row.
How many? How many?
I think I was at Ghost Protocol, which was like number 5 or 6.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
watched number 2, but like all of them like I just spent the
Uh-huh.
day, like I just like went through. I did a day for Jurassic Park. And then I did 2 days, we'll call it like my own little like mini weekend for Fast and Furious. Give yourself the joy of like watching all of those in a row. If you still have time. I mean, like now we're back at work, but like during the stay-at-home order when there was nothing to do,
Yeah.
perfect time to just watch all the Fast and Furiouses, all the Jurassic Parks. I know somebody out there is not in their head because they spent the time doing all of the Star Wars. Like it was the
Yeah.
perfect time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely rewatched a few series, but those are some that I
Like
have
whole
not.
series,
Oh,
whole.
series? Oh yeah, yeah. I rewatched Game of Thrones.
Oh no, that guy. Whoa, that's a good
Yeah, I
one.
rewatched that. What else did I
Oh, she
rewatch?
was so good. Lena Headley on that show, she she came on and she would like change the atmosphere in the air. You could
Hmm.
see how her character like just carried so much power.
Yeah.
Maisie Williams as Arya, like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
watch that
Yeah.
on screen.
Mhm.
My God,
Mhm. And that
that
well,
is the mm,
it's amazing. And what you were saying about learning from people like laterally or younger or, that being open to knowing we can learn something from everyone. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
Man, a girl has no name. Like so good.
Yeah.
Now tell me this, love. Renaissance Fair. Did you go to the Renaissance Fair growing up? Do they have them
No.
in Montana?
Well, I don't know if they did. I mean, they might have, but we didn't. I think I went to my first Renaissance Fair in like 3 years ago, I think.
Man, yeah.
Yeah.
Renaissance fairs were for all of the like weirdos who wanted to like wear peasant shirts and frolic in the land like my
Yep.
lady. And they would do these things where they have like jousts, they would cook big turkey legs,
Mhm.
they would have like some clown like I'm a jester and like
Yeah.
walk around the whole park. And usually like a maybe 2 or 3 weekends, they would sometimes longer, but they would have them out in these country fairs, and then you could like play different games and do arts and crafts to feel like you were actually living in the Renaissance.
Yep.
Actors, you say? We went every year as a family. It was so fun.
Oh, that is
It's so
so
fun.
fun. I did talk. This is will it be embarrassing to some people, but for me, it's just like I'm just so proud of myself, and hopefully you will be too. But I did convince my mom and sister to dress in Shakespearean garb for us to go to medieval times. For I didn't even have to like work very hard to convince them. It was just
That's
like,
awesome.
let's get these costumes and go.
That's awesome.
It was and it was so fun.
That's
It was yeah,
awesome.
it
Medieval
was just
times
so
is so
fun.
fun.
It was
So
really fun.
silly.
Yeah.
Scream for your knights.
Yep.
Ah, the
It was just
blue knight.
just a
And
good time.
you accept like wrestling that it's all pre-planned and that
Mhm.
it's going to happen and that the choreography had a rehearsal before it started. Like we know,
Yeah.
but it's still really fun. If
Really
you have a
fun.
medieval times near you, please go when you
Yeah.
can again. But yeah,
Right? Oh my goodness. Okay, okay. So
I know you're.
no, I know, because I was like,
I'm watching this.
we could just talk for such a, which I love, I love, but I wanna make sure that I ask you two.
And I'll speed
Ooh,
like answer. I know we've been on like a
no,
tangent, but
it,
like
it's
I can
it's
give
it's
you
okay.
like.
You don't got a speed answer. You don't got a speed answer. I got like
All right.
three. Man, I got so many, but it's okay. Let's
Okay.
do. Ooh, okay. First one. Do you have a favorite role um that you've done so far, like that stands out as, I don't know, having affected your life in some way? You felt more powerful in your body, or
Ooh,
just any sort of whatever that made it
yes,
stand out, and why?
absolutely. I played Viola in 12th Night, and at the time, my boyfriend broke up with slash I broke up, like ended. We
Yep.
were living together. He came back, told me he was had started hanging out. But when a relationship is starting to the volume is getting turned down, the text gets shorter, the calls get shorter. Instead of like a reply, it's like K, you know. So something was amiss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this gorgeous play about the power of women and how they love and like what it means to love. She's giving these gorgeous like chats with the Duke about, you know, I know what women can do, because in the story, Viola is pretending to be a boy so she can help this Duke seduce another woman,
Mm-hmm.
all the while falling in love with him, all the while he's falling in love with her. But
Mm-hmm.
as this boy, not understanding why he's so like drawn to this, effeminate young figure. And then the woman that she was sent to seduce starts falling in love with her. It's a whole mess.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like a maid in a silly like other like B story.
Yep.
Truly like the B story, right? But maybe if you were the actor in that story, you thought it was the A. Uh, but to be doing that in the course of a breakup, I felt like at some nights I was being like carried,
Mm.
because I was like so heartbroken, but I was still able to like the seriously some like old all the Violas of the past like came in and were like, we're gonna get you through this performance tonight.
Oh wow, yeah.
That's what I was saying, like the whole thing about being channeling something where it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not even you doing it, it's just like you're connected to some ancient, like a that thing in Avengers where like the sky opens up and you can just like travel on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No. What was
No, I
that thing?
do. I do. I just don't know what it's called, but
I
I
don't know
know
what
what you're
it's called
talking
either,
about.
but
Yeah, yeah.
like, yeah. Um, Not to mention that it's just a lot of fun. It's verbally a really fantastic one of his plays. And I did feel stronger for it. I didn't want to let the fact that I was going through that at the time affect the way that I needed to feel as her, to be
Yep.
open to falling in love
Yeah.
and to be able to like separate that out for that moment and still show up and do the play, remember the lines, get the blocking in, do the changeovers of the costumes, grab the props, like all that. It was a mission. And I felt like after it was over, I could crawl into my little ball and stay. But I needed to show up for other people in that too. And that
Mm-hmm.
was also a huge, um, I thought that was an accomplishment as well. Like, if you don't show up for your job, it messes up other people.
Yep.
So you have to have that commitment to them as well.
Yeah. I love the
Man,
idea of
that was
what you're
like,
saying of like, being carried and having that acknowledgement too, because so often when we are feeling, going through a difficult time and that isolation and feeling like you're the only one, and then remembering it's happened to millions of people and millions of people have gotten past it and you'll get past it too.
yes,
And just the comfort of
no, no,
the
no.
comfort of
You
that.
know, you know where that idea and that idea, like the being the vessel, came from? Fiona Shaw. Fiona Shaw was one of my teachers at BADA, and she was in Harry Potter. She was like the mean stepmom, but not to mention she's like been incredible on
Oh, wow.
stage.
Yeah.
She has a Medea performance that still gives me chills.
Oh,
But she talked about how in the past, when it came to greatness, people knew that it was because it wasn't from them.
yes.
And then as we
Yes.
moved into the future and society and industrial revolution, people started taking on that greatness and that skill as if it had come from them.
Yep.
But back in the day, it was always about the fact that, like, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I am not the way that this came about, that it is something that's coming through me. I'm here to be used. I'm here to spread. I'm here to carry this power, but I'm only there to like put it out into it. I'm not the actual like churn of this
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so when I did that play in particular, I felt like, thank God that I don't feel that way, because I might not have made it. I would have been too caught up in my own to be able to even get it through that day. I
Mm-hmm.
did a play here in LA called The Double V, about the big campaign to advocate for victory in the war. But there was also a paper in Philly, who's a Black paper in Philly, that said, well, if you want to have victory in the war, why don't we also have victory for Black people here in the States? How can you ask us to go fight for you, but then treat us like we're Jim Crow South?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you don't say it's Jim Crow, but now we're still not getting wages, we're still not getting protection and education. And this woman decided to write a play about this true story I'd never heard about. And so in the course of her, dramatization, the character decides to leave the editor. She was like a cub reporter. She
Mm-hmm.
decides to leave him and actually enlist in the war. And they got this fantastic suit that had been used from costume houses. They made sure it fit me, got the right shoes, got the right hat, hair was done. And you walk out on stage, the audience gasps because they don't know that Madge has decided to enlist.
Mm-hmm.
And to think about all these people, all these Black women who looked at this as a way to change their whole life by maybe getting these other skills, they might be able to like get to another place, get to another level of education or for their family, not to mention going to war.
Yeah.
I don't even want to like do like Spartan games. Can you imagine like actually having to do that because your life is on the line? I love the idea that like I was now part of like being able to honor and tell that story. My family's from a military background, so my appreciation for the armed forces is very high. Like, respect, and to get to do that on for real people
Mm-hmm.
who have never been recognized. Those are sorry, I gave you two.
Hey, good. You know, more it's better. You know, and when you were, I know I'm totally not cutting this off now because I'm just like, oh, I'm just in it. The When you were talking about your experience with Viola, it actually has me really curious now to hear more stories from other women and, men too, of, or I guess however people identify, right? To include everybody, of how, if they had these like moments of grief or loss in their personal lives, and when they're on stage playing their character, how that shifted things for them or helped them be, get heal quicker.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah.
if you're not focused on it, it's not like you're not focusing on it for it to be therapy. You're there to do your job as an actor.
Right, right,
It
right. But
affects
then
your
in some
body.
way it becomes your
It
space, becomes your way to
right.
work through and process it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I got to work on Lady Macbeth during yes, yes, I got to play the lady. She it was just it was such a like it,
Screw your courage to the sticking post.
it was such a perfectly timed chance to do it because I was going through a very difficult time then.
But
And
isn't that funny about how you get cast in things?
yes,
Their timing is always right. There's something about like the roles come when you're in a place to get that material, I think. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, it would be fun. It will be fun to play her a few different times, not with that experience, but just seeing how it shifts over time, right? As we shift
Right.
over time. But there was something that was very healing about like when I was there to do my job, to connect with the characters, to yes, have the character be channeled through me and all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
as I was doing that, to feel powerful and in my body in a way that
Mm.
I wasn't when I was off the stage, and dealing with my like, I feel my
Right.
body feels the pain of, you know,
Mm.
do you know what I learned? Do you know what I learned the other day?
What did you?
I learned that if we feel rejection, whether it's like from a job, whether it's a breakup, whether it's an opportunity, like even an audition that we had and we thought we did well, and we're like, I think we're gonna book it, and you get excited and then you don't get it, so it feels like a rejection. Whatever your idea of the rejection is, you make a favorite cookie for somebody and they taste and they don't like it. Whatever that rejection is, why it can affect us so deeply is because that's how our brains work.
Mm.
It's placed
They don't know the difference between a real rejection versus rejection from like just a job.
well, whether or not it is a if you perceive something as a rejection, whether it's fake or real, or by whoever standards that is, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What if you believe something is a rejection, where that is in your brain, it's in the
Mm.
same place for pain. So your body physically feels pain from rejection.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And
Yes. Get
I
no's
just
all the time. All the time.
I just
But
love
in the same way that
knowledge.
you figured out how to carry that power for your Macbeth when you were on stage, somewhere in you that same power was there.
Exactly.
When you choose to step into it in your day-to-day will be when it comes, but like you already know how to do that power.
Yes. And so that was one of the things that was so wonderful, was being on stage and just having a moment of being like, well, I'm still me. I am still me. I am still me. I'm
Snaps.
right. Those moments, and
Yes.
that chance to just be you, even though it's like you're focused on being the character and doing your job. Well, guess what? Like you're still
That's so
in your
dope.
skin.
Yes.
Right.
Mm. I
Yes.
just want to nibble on it. That's good.
So I'm so glad that I
Chew
asked you
on
that
it.
question and you brought that up, because
Yes.
now here we are. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that piece of rejection, what I loved learning that fact, right, about where it is in the brain, and neuroscientists, hopefully I'll get on here sometime, they could like specify things in more detail. But
Don't
but
look in there.
anyway.
Don't look in there.
Okay, neuroscientists, come on. But I love
Right.
just having, knowledge is power. That
Mm.
idea, and that knowing that, hey, if I physically hurt right now because I feel rejected, maybe it wasn't a big rejection. It doesn't matter what the outside world thinks, but to you, if you felt rejected and now you feel bad, that's okay. That's what your body does. That's how it works. So don't focus on analyzing more why you feel bad in your body. Like, it's, yes, this is what happens. Now, what do I do to get past this? Like,
Mm.
let yourself feel, and then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I
But
wish
isn't
I
that also the kind of fun thing about doing getting to be an actor, so we get to feel our emotions.
Yep.
A lot of people don't get to have that space to like have that full scream or that breakdown, random
Exactly.
podcast cry, but like that you get to like have your fullest version of it instead of being forced to say like, oh, I need to man up for guys, or that I can't like fully let someone see how angry or mad I am.
Mm-hmm.
No, on stage, you're going to get all this anger. You're going to get all of this pain. You're going to get all of this frustration, whatever that version is. You get to go to the fullest version of it.
Exactly. And yes. And it's so
I
important
told you
because
at the like core, secret.
okay.
When I had gotten to the point when I was living in New York, because I had been there from school. It was my home base. I had done things in like Boston, Connecticut, of course, the DC show, it was just like out and about. But at the same time, I was still on this like big, workshop. Oh, did I lose you? Okay.
No, you're here.
I hit a button. I was on this big like workshop kick, and I was never like, I was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. By the time I got to the full show, they'd bring in some actor. I always use the example of like CSI Montauk, where it's like we're just doing like a version of a show. And it doesn't matter that it's not Las Vegas or the New York. It's just like, let's just pick Baltimore, CSI Baltimore. And that person would get to be the person in the full production because they needed that like sell. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to LA.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on this so that maybe someone would want to bring me back to do a show. Because it's such a special way of sharing something with someone. It's ephemeral. If you don't catch it that night, it's gone.
Yeah.
So then you have to figure out like, what is the version of like doing this work and hopefully still finding that same kind of passion, excitement for the thing that's going to have to be recorded forever.
Right.
When you do that line, did you want fries with that? Like, you still need to get it. You still got to come in strong.
I did want fries though. When you asked, I was like, yes, please. It was convincing. Right. Yeah. But you have to get to that place still. Yeah.
Because maybe I won't get back to LA or won't get back to New York, but I'm here and I got to do the work and I want to feel good about what I do. I don't want to feel like I'm just like throwing it up like, oh, I guess I'll just turn this in.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, because if
you want to still respect what you're like up to, it's
right. And like you love the art and you have respect for it. And it's not, again, coming back to that Polonius, to thine own self be true. You are not the type of person who got into it just so that you would get your name on a billboard and have the dollars, so
that's why I didn't understand social media. I was like, you don't need to know me. How is you knowing me going to help you forget me when I step into this role?
I am just so excited to have you say things that are in my head so often that like,
right, you're like, no. Less of me so that you will, I think about like somebody like Mahershala Ali who comes on every single time and you're like, oh, you're a different guy. Moonlight Mahershala is not True Detective Mahershala, like as it should be.
Yep.
But if there's too much of like me knowing your jam, I would think it makes it harder to forget that's that personality versus it being like, this is just I recognize that you're an actor who does this job.
Yep.
I've always wanted to be just the person who like gets to come in and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're like, was that Eddie Murphy? And coming to him, he was the barber. He was the barber.
Yeah. Yeah, that is
have definitely. You seen Coming to?
I it's on the radar. I want to watch the first one, even though I remember it, but it's just like an event. Like I want to rewatch the first one and watch the second one.
Oh, there's so
I'm real
much
excited.
to watch.
Real excited. And In the Heights, I think, is coming out here soon too.
Another reason to get Disney Plus.
I'm just so many things to be excited about. Okay, so I'm gonna make myself get back to these questions.
Okay.
Do you have we didn't even talk about your Star Wars voiceover.
Yeah. when I mentioned that like people probably have watched the entire Star Wars during this time, I was like, okay, don't let it be. We're low on time. I came on late. Like, let's just get
Oh no,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
so much to talk about. We didn't even talk about that.
Real quick. I am the voice of a new digital series from Star Wars called The High Republic. And it introduces a time in the whole galaxy's timeline, hundreds of years before Skywalker saga began. And we introduce all new Jedis, all new villains. And across 12 of these little mini episodes, each of the characters is given an introduction. And I am the voice welcoming to the entire like Star Wars fandom these new people.
Very cool. Right?
I watch Star Wars every Christmas. When they started doing like the refresh of like when we got to, I can see her face with Felicity Jones. But even like as we got, I think it was around the same time that like Lord of the Rings was doing their stories like every single Christmas, and then Star Wars took over for a couple of years, and they were putting out movies every single year. I used to watch The Hobbit every year with my mom and dad, and then we watched Star Wars. And so to see those things come up to the screen, we would wait until we were all back together. It was like a family thing to go to the theater and watch whatever the new, oh, he's getting up there close to Smog. Like, let's all go. Or we're going to see if they're going to be able to make it. Damn, what was that one? Rogue One. You know, like we're going to always make sure that we see this one together. My father passed away, and being able to like go and watch those movies is a part of like connecting to that whole like joy and fun of like being in a dark theater, watching the lights go down, sound go up to that John Williams score, and to then know that I like, not only was I doing this one job with them, but that I was going to be a part of 8 episodes. Then they came back and said, actually, we're going to make it 12. And this is the first time any of these people are getting to know the characters of this continuation. And at the same time, they're now announcing they're going to do a High Republic show. And I was like, hey, Brett, can you get me in with John? You know, Jon Favreau, because, you know, I happen to be an actor. Like, we could do a little live version. But separate from that, I think it's really cool that they, in their like choice of whom they could use as a voice to introduce this time, they went with the Black woman's voice. They said, these are going to be the characters we introduce. This is the storylines that we want to tell, and we're going to tell it to you in this way.
Yeah.
Fucking Star Wars. Millions of people have watched this thing. It comes out for like a maybe an hour, and it's at hundreds of thousands. Like that's a reach that I never thought I would have, as far as like
traveling to galaxies far, far away, right?
Do you know the first time that I got to say the Jedi? Or one of the phrases was "use the Force." Will they use the Force? And I was like, ah, the Force, you know. It's kind of fun also that you brought this through because it all happened during the pandemic. I recorded it here in my closet / voiceover booth. There was no time to like have that like Star Wars party to be like, let's all celebrate this, because you don't have parties. But
yeah, a post-pandemic party. No, there's something to look forward to, right?
So many things to look forward to.
Yes. Okay. So, do you currently have any like dream roles, favorite collaborators, like any, like you get your magic wand and that's what you have, and why? What is it and why?
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boop. I would love to do a Stephen Sondheim musical. Bibbidi Boop. I would work with like Viola Davis or Regina King. I would be a series regular on a show who was able to finance independent film on hiatus. That's enough for the universe, right? Like that would be Bibbidi Bobbidi. That would be dope.
You guys, Bibbidi Boppidi it. Let's see it happen. That'd be so awesome. Okay, cool. And then I will make this the last question. So for today,
Hey, I
is
got some more wine in the fridge. We're good.
oh, wine. The best and worst advice you were ever given. Oh, okay, no, two questions. The best and worst
Oh,
advice you were ever given, and then what you would
oh,
tell your younger self.
oh. Well, worst advice. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Like, usually, if I don't think it's good, I don't even like. Anyway, thanks. Like you let your ticker be your guide. You know when something's not right. Don't listen to that voice.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that voice will keep you safe. So I don't really. I'm trying to think about like the worst advice. I just don't like sit in it. Oh, actually,
Oh, okay.
this may not have been advice, but it
Yep.
was told to me. I had a manager at the time who I had just finished doing 2 episodes of Criminal Minds. Oh no, 2 episodes of Grey's Anatomy. I did my episode of Criminal Minds. I'm like the victim's sister doing all my jam opposite the series regular. And I came to my manager at the moment and I was like, listen, I don't think the agency's really doing it for me. We should use this time while we have these, recent bookings,
Yep.
try and get somebody new.
Yep.
He had gotten me with a commercial agent. So commercials are funny because you end up getting a lot of commission off of them, but not necessarily the work that's going to build your career as an actor when it comes to being on stage or on screen. You need to have that theatrical push. And I just wasn't feeling it. So I went to him and I was like, look, obviously something's hot right now. Let's get it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we should wait. Never wait. That I don't know if that was considered advice. Is that like, but that was the thing that he said. And then he did nothing. And there was like months later. Then as my father, I think it was around like November, it was, when things, bad shit happens, you don't like always remember the timeline. But what happened was, as my contract was about to expire, he's like, I think we should go in other directions. And I was like, you just kept me on the horn for it's April, May, June, July, August, November, like November. And you want to say, let's bounce, and you want to break it off. So if someone says we should wait, and you know that you're on some fire, that you've gotten maybe some confidence has been built, and you want to try and keep like activating for your own career, to be your own advocate, don't wait. Now if someone's like, maybe you shouldn't do that commercial where you're playing the racist, it's like, maybe that is something to listen to, but like maybe think about that. But in terms of like just how you navigate this business, that was a huge learning lesson for me, because I was like, oh, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Never doing that again. And then as far as like good advice, I was told that when you're looking at like what kind of job to do, like one over the other, to look at the people, to look at the part, look at the place, and look at the pay. And if you can get some part of those P's working, there was a fifth one, but I don't remember what that. I mean, those are some pretty good P's though, right?
Yeah, they
like
really
if you're
are.
trying to like, okay, well, if I get this job, then I'm gonna have this, but then who am I working with? Who are the people that I'm working with? Oh, but it's this great theater here in LA, or is it a chance to go to London and do this like blah, blah, blah. And then of course the pay, it's show business. It's show business. But if you can get a couple of those together, I think you're going to be in good hands. Just, know that it doesn't happen in a vacuum, that you're dependent on the people, from the PA to the grip to the guy who just comes in to water down the car so it looks like it's raining. It's truly like a machine watching all this work happen, and everyone is doing their thing. They came on time, they're here, they're out in the cold with you. Like, recognize that. If you're on stage, pick up your costumes.
Right.
My best friend was a wardrobe person, and she told me how people would just leave their underwear on the floor at this huge theater she worked at. And I was like, oh, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, that's gross.
Right. Like, just like, oh, I'm just so,
It's not
you know,
sanitary. It's just
not to mention,
no, just
there's
no.
a basket.
So,
There's
oh,
literally a basket right there. Put your underwear in the, yeah.
um, title of the episode: Put your underwear in the basket. No, just kidding. Take up your drawers. No, okay. Okay, so
Yes.
what what other than good hygiene is something that you would tell your younger self?
Oh, also, I would tell myself, I do this now.
Yeah.
When I go on for a long day, I bring a toothbrush and a little toothpaste, and I bring a travel yoga mat. It makes me feel like I'm starting the day again in case I need to like just energetically like refresh after lunch. Um, After like there's some like snack, like it's usually they have the breakfast and you have like a mid
Yeah.
thing, maybe they'll have like a second dinner or something. There's something about like, okay, now my mouth is fresh, my eyes are open, get a good like lay on the floor or even to stretch.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cold, so it your body gets tight because you're trying to hold on to heat.
Yeah.
And then to be able to say like, I need to remember to stay loose. Like you were saying before, you got to be thick skinned, but you got to have like that jelly underneath.
Yeah.
In the same way, your body has to be available for.
Yes. That's so
So,
good. Like
yeah, bring the
how to
mat,
how to take
bring a
care of your
book.
body so your body can take care of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
book
Hmm.
is good. Get some Apple stock.
That's what you would
Younger
tell your
self,
younger self.
get some Apple stock.
Yes. Yes. That's a good one.
Don't worry about that boy. He's not gonna call. Um,
Get some Apple stock and don't worry about that boy. Yep.
that's the
Get
name
a
of the episode. That's the name of the episode.
Oh, such a good one. Well, I was thinking I had one in mind from another a quote of yours, but you know
Oh,
that was a good one. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
so
I can't
many.
wait
There's
to
so
see
many.
what
There's so many.
wins.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah,
But okay, so I am gonna just I would stay on here for hours with you,
I know we
and
could. I know
yeah.
it's
So
fun.
we'll just have to do this again sometime.
P.S. Y'all, when I was first like getting back into like figuring out how to like audition for camera and get through, Samantha and I worked together. She helped coach me on some auditions.
Uh,
Remember?
I
Remember
do
that
remember. I do
early
remember. It was
early
fun.
Penny?
I do remember early Penny. It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was a long ass time
It
ago.
was a long time ago. It was such a
Yeah,
long time ago.
but
Yeah.
it was good. I thought I loved the way that you approached it, and that helped. That's another thing, guys. Not only should you diversify the kind of work you do, diversify your training. Get involved with different ways of communicating and different mediums. Be aware of what your voice can do because it could be a way to make money. Be aware of what's happening for you on camera. Are you larger than you need to be? Are you down by 50%? Is it not reading? Are you just giving enough to like make sure that it's clear? Because
Hmm.
all you can do is communicate with that. But then also don't forget, if you are a film actor, how to live from your head to your toes over a full hour and a half.
Yep.
Can you do a run for 8 days in a row? Or can you stay alive for that whole amount of time? Because
Right.
if I'm in the audience and I'm watching this the whole show, I should know from whoever I watch, whether they're speaking or not, that this actually has been told, that a story has happened. So get in there with some, even if you can't afford to do like a full liberal arts program,
Yeah.
there's incredible resources, even masterclass.
Yep.
But diversify how you feed this thing because
Yes.
it could help you stay in the game.
Yes. 100,000 million times. Yes. Like diversify, keep feeding yourself, the goods so that you can keep on that energy going and that inspiration. And
Yeah.
I think as long as you have that mindset and that openness to know that you're going to pull information that's going to enrich you, you'll find the thing that enriches you. Like I never imagined when I just started stand up for fun to help feed my soul years ago. I never imagined, well, that it would be, take me in the path that it did, but I also didn't imagine it would make me a better actor. Same thing, like
Mm.
I took voiceover, for voiceover, but I did a class, I think it was like right before the pandemic. It was like an 8-week thing. And but this time I was just doing it more for like training. It wasn't like to try to, I guess I got an updated reel out of it, but it wasn't for that reason so much as I was like, I'm feeling rusty. I just want to practice. And, and I was surprised. I'm like, oh, I'm breaking down scenes better. I'm
Ah,
using it even more for my acting work now. So it's just how all that stuff can feed you. I think
but
people
but
can be
the way that you would
surprised.
analyze and break down and create a set had a way that now your eye is being trained
Yep.
differently to
Mm-hmm.
even analyze the work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's just like,
It all
that,
can help
yep.
you.
And that theater nerd at
Absolutely.
heart thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you can
I actually have never
improve
done
and learn
stand
about
up,
that.
and my friend was laughing at me and she's like, "Well, how?" And I'm like, "Well, I feel like the further I get away from like having the full like audience, lights down, costume, and then you back that up a little bit, and now you're backing up and it's just maybe you're hearing your voice, or you back it up on improv and it's just like you and whatever is happening. Even in sketch, maybe sometimes it's just like you in that little costume or whatever. But with stand up, it's just you. And that gets back to that part of like, but I don't want you to know me. I don't want to have to, and I know it's a version of you that gets told because it's like it's crafted you. But
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you're still selecting what you want to say, but yes,
yes. No.
been that has been one of the biggest drawbacks of it for me. But
Yeah.
the way that it feeds me is it helps me to feel more fearless, I guess. It helps me to be even more honest.
Mm,
Even though I feel like a pretty honest and fearless person to begin with, but because it does terrify me and I am a
right.
private person. I mean, like, yes, you can tune into the podcast, and as a guest of the podcast, you'll hear some of my personal information. Sometimes maybe there'll be some tears, whatnot. But it's different than being in a crowd full of strangers, having to make them laugh with stories that it's a different thing, but
Mm-mm.
I've gotten a lot out of it. So
That's yeah, shout out to the stand-ups, man. I just think about like this idea that then you're also having to keep finding new things to talk about. And I know
mm,
in life is plenty of stories,
yeah.
but then are you focused on trying to like live your life, or are you focused on trying to like live the life to get the story out of it?
I think of Well, for me, it's the same way that I would think of it with acting.
Now you're on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm on the podcast. You guys, this is just going to keep going and going. Why don't you pop yourselves a glass of wine if you're old enough? If you're not old enough, sorry you heard us swearing. It is an actor podcast. Sometimes things like that happen on performance podcasts. And have a Martinelli's or a water. Just,
Go
I keep
fancy. Put it in a
I
wine
I
glass.
keep checking. If you notice my eyes darting off, I'm just making sure we're still recording. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have my cautiousness over making sure. So it still is.
Oh
We're good.
yeah. But
Okay,
yeah,
that's
that is
eye
such a
dart.
whole
But
other world.
girl. Oh, so okay, I'm pausing because I want to say this in a way that does not sound crazy.
What?
Because no, I don't think it's crazy. I was just telling it to people who, if they're not like actors themselves or performers themselves, it can sound a little bit like, what did you do? So one of the things I would do for my acting training, as I was getting more involved in like noticing my body shifts and this and that and blah blah blah, and so that I don't have to go through like painful emotional recalls to connect with the character or this that and the other thing, is really paying attention to what my body is doing when I'm actually going through something in real life.
Uh-huh.
So if
Uh-huh.
I need to replicate it, I can. Cool.
Nice. Nice.
So, like in the past, maybe if I was crying over something, I would notice, like, how does that feel? Or what's going on? Or how am I breathing? Or what's my face like?
All
Or
about that breath.
you
Yep.
see, you got it, like
Yeah.
those actory things, right? And I noticed at one point when I was going through something difficult in life, when I was like emotional and crying and this, I wasn't doing that actory thing. Also, because I'd done that for so many years, I think I kind of had a handle on it. I was like, and get up and go right and be like, oh, punchline. And so I noticed I was having this process of just like living my life and writing
Hmm.
down things that I thought could be a punchline or could be um, or could or could be
A
a
jumping
premise
off
for a
point for
joke. And
yeah.
so I didn't. I mean, I know everybody has their own process, but for me, it didn't take me away from experiencing life so much as it just made me more aware of certain things and then
Hmm.
noted.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, in the
Hmm.
same way as acting did, it just was a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
No, I appreciate when people do it well. Like it's And I can't imagine the grind of like having to go to all the different places. And we'll see how that industry recovers and changes through the pandemic. I know I've seen some successes through like Clubhouse. People have been able to make the most of this because it's about listening. And so where else are you going to listen if it's live? But we're gonna have to get pretty innovative, as we
Right.
continue to be a part of this community in
Right.
this the new world,
That,
new
yep,
world. Yeah.
there will be a way because humans are humans, and
But like you having to like go on like a 10-city tour, probably
well, I
might
mean,
not want to like. Do you have to like have a vaccine card to do equity tours now? Like, am I gonna get to like? I know traveling is we're talking about like maybe some things like that, and I love to travel.
yeah.
But even going on sets and stuff, we end up having to test all the time. Like my nose is tickled. And then when
Oh
you get
my
that thing in there so much, it's like your nose runs. It's like your brain is like, hey, yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Oh boy, yeah. I was thinking about how mine when shove it all the way up my nose.
All the way in the back.
It burns so. It was terrible, just
Buy
terrible.
me dinner first. Come on. What's happening?
You guys, on that note, no, just I feel like I shouldn't leave it on buy me dinner first. But it was a line. It's probably just good advice to buy people dinner and treat them with
I
respect.
mean, it's just a nice thing to do.
Okay, well,
See, this is the version. This is the 2-night shoot version. The interview would have been a whole different story had I been well rested, focused.
I mean, it was fun. If you want to come on another time, we can do it again, maybe in like I don't know, a year, a few months or something, or
Right.
whenever. Just whenever. It was fun. You guys, so again, I just want to take a moment to give a big thank you to Brie Eley for coming on the show. And again,
Aw.
you can find her at brieeley.com. And please also go on over to hereandready.co, and you can also go on to the Patreon to help support the cause, right? We could use
Thank you
all the
so
help that we can
much.
get.
I love being able to talk about these ideas too, because we get so far away from them as you go into the grind of like just trying to work and make sure that like, oh, I gotta get my rent paid, and I gotta make sure that do I have all my makeup, and it's like go back into that original like kernel of what made you want to say, I want to do this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate your time, and I hope listeners, I mean, I'm sure you got something great out of this, something funny, maybe a few lines as well, and good wine recommendations. I mean, there's a lot of different things. So please, as always, you can go on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review and also comments. I love getting comments. Let us know if you did have a favorite piece of advice or love that wine recommendation. But seriously, all of your support, it does help to spread the message of the podcast so it can reach as many people as possible and help make a positive difference in everybody's lives. If you are, of course, looking for a coach, you can always reach me at beyondtechniquecoaching@gmail.com. If you're looking for somebody to help you with performance skills to improve your life and voice, body, and mind, that connection for communication, public speaking, auditioning, even like your relationships, I just think it, and I found it to be useful for pretty much about anything. So feel free to email me questions or set up a time. And then last thing was going to be, yes, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. And if you want to show some support on Patreon as well for this, you can do that there as well too at Beyond Technique with Samantha Rund. It just helps to keep it all going. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take good care of yourself.